And I remember running back into my office and being like, hey, Gypsy Rose Blanchard requested for me to write her back. I was like, what do I do? Just was like, I can't believe you wrote back to me. Why did you choose me? And like, that's what I'm thinking in my head. Like, what made her choose me to write me back? Because she gets letters all over the place, all the time.
We'll keep our fingers crossed, like I said, but hopefully it works out.
Hopefully it does. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, if it doesn't, we'll be there to pick up the pieces.
We call it newly together with.
So this is your happily ever after, the gal who liked being a princess.
It is, yeah. I had to kiss a couple frogs to get to this one. Handsome face.
Oh, thank you, baby.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Friday, March 29th, 2024. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Gypsy Rose Blanchard updated her friends and her family on her private Facebook about some struggles she was having in her life, and then last night posted that she and her husband Ryan were separated. This private post on her private Facebook was discovered by People magazine, and they detailed in an article that Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Ryan Anderson have split. In her post on her Facebook account, Gypsy wrote, "People have been asking what's going on in my life. Unfortunately, my husband and I are going through a separation. Moved in with my parents' home down in the bayou. I have the support of my family and friends to help guide me through this, and I'm learning to listen to my heart. Right now, I need time to let myself find who I am." That news was published by People magazine last night. And Without a Crystal Ball, me, has known about this for several days, but had not reported to respect the privacy of Gypsy. Given that it is now public, the news has gone viral, and some people who have been following the story may or may not be surprised, although some people were not shocked. In previous interviews, when asked about their marriage, Gypsy told People magazine, "I never lived with a man. I grew up with a mom, so I didn't even grow up with a dad in the house. So I'm like, I don't even know what it's like to live with a man." When you look at the scope of Gypsy's life, it's not even so much that she had never lived with a man, it was also that she had never lived independently. So outside the fact that she didn't grow up in a home with her father, she also never had the freedom to explore her own life or develop her own identity outside of her mother. At the time that she was arrested, she had never been allowed to live independently. She was under the strict control of her mom, who basically kept her in a state of adolescence perpetually and told people that she was a minor, even though she wasn't. And she was told growing up that she had cognitive disabilities. She went through all kinds of treatments for illnesses that she never had. Her mom controlled who she could see, who she could talk to. If she got in contact with people in the outside world, she would take away electronics. When she at one point tried to flee her mom found her and then brought her back home and put her down even under more control. So prior to her arrest, she had never in her life had any ounce of independence. She hadn't gone to school. She hadn't graduated high school. She had never really had friendships. She had never really dated. And she had never really been able to explore life as a person. She then went to prison and spent 8.5 years there, where she has said over and over and over again that she felt like this was freedom because it was so much more free than how she lived with her mother. So coming out of prison, there were some concerns expressed by her family members about getting married. Her stepmother on the show, The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, expressed, that she had hoped that Gypsy would wait, that maybe they could get to know each other better on the outside, that she had concerns about whether or not it would work, just given the fact that Gypsy had such limited life experience. Christy and Rod and her sister Mia were all also very clear that regardless of what happened in the marriage, And if it didn't work out, they would be there to help her pick up the pieces. In the last several months, Gypsy has gone through sort of a whirlwind where she at one point had this huge public platform. She was going on interviews. She released a book. She had a docuseries come out. She amassed millions of followers on her TikTok and on her Instagram. And then a couple weeks ago, at the advisement of her probation officer, she deleted all of her public-facing Instagram and TikTok. And that was at their advisement due to the number of reports that they were getting about her that were proven over investigations to be not violations of her parole, but were basically creating kind of a headache for their division, and that given how visible she was, that it would be better for her to just be private. So she made a decision to go private. She deleted all of her social media content and apologized for not being as accountable as she should be in any of her posts, any of her interviews. She said she was sorry to everyone. She made clear that, she understood what her crimes were, and she just said that she was going to go private. So since she has been private, she has just been doing her own thing. So to give you sort of context of what I know about the situation, and I'm not going to share a whole lot because I certainly don't want to violate the trust that I have, because I do speak to this family. I haven't spoken to Gypsy specifically about the split. I have spoken to other people in the circle and around the family about what's been going on. I'm not going to give details about what's happened, but I will say that this decision by her is, I think, a really healthy decision, frankly. I think she is learning through therapy, and she's learning just in her own, as she's been growing and understanding the real world, what is good for her and what's not good for her, and what she needs and what she doesn't need. And right now, her biggest need is taking care of herself and taking care of what her requirements are for parole, getting the help that she needs, and learning how to live life on her own. So gaining life skills. And that's, if you add a relationship on top of that, that's a lot of pressure. Imagine you have never had any life experience. You never lived independently. You've never paid a bill. You've never paid rent. You've never driven a car. You've never had the freedom to go do whatever you want. And then you get out and you have that freedom, but then you're in a relationship and you have to consider what the other person needs and what the other person wants. And then they have expectations of you. You have expectations of them, but you don't have a framework or understanding of how to do it all. It's a lot, and it's overwhelming to anyone in that situation. I've seen comments already over on my social media that are like, oh, he dodged a bullet. Oh, he was, she was such a manipulator. I've seen a lot of this rhetoric about how manipulative she is. And I will say, I've gotten to know her a little bit, and Gypsy's really naive, very naive. And she's also very inexperienced in life. And she has a habit of falling into patterns where she feels comfortable, and she gravitates towards what's comfortable to her and people that are comfortable for her. And so unfortunately, she can sometimes gravitate towards unhealthy situations. And as she's growing and understanding that about herself, she's learning she needs to be mindful about the choices that she's making. And so her decision to leave is really just about one of growth and her understanding that she needs to prioritize herself. She needs to know who she is before she can be somebody else's wife, before she can be a mother, before she can, have the demands on her to be there for someone else. It's hard to be there for someone else when you can't and you haven't been able to be there for yourself. It's hard to invest into someone else, and it's hard to invest into relationships when you still need to learn about what you like, what your thoughts are, what your motivations are, what your goals are, and then have to learn coping mechanisms and new strategies to reprogram your mind. And she's doing those things, and her priority remains herself. It's not her being selfish. It's not her being, she used him. It's not being that he dodged a bullet. I think it's just a case of she's not ready and it wasn't the right relationship for her. A lot of people are instantly going negative about him. I've seen comments saying, oh, he was so controlling, he was so this, he was so that. I will say that she's not going to speak, at least at this point, negatively about him. She has no desire to drag him. She has no desire to be cruel to him. She has no desire to make him look bad. She has no desire to ruin his reputation. So comments like that really to her aren't helpful. I've learned a lot about her over the last several years, and she's just very protective about the people that she loves. And even though they've split, she still loves them. So moving forward, what does this mean for Gypsy? Gypsy was living about 2 or 3 hours from her parents' house. So parents live in Cutoff, Louisiana, which is in the bayou. And so she's moved 2.5 hours away. She packed up her things and left about a week ago. And she has been staying with her stepmother, Christy, and her father, Rod, and spending time with her sister, Mia, as well as spending time with friends, family. She was able to reconnect with some of her cousins. And she's just trying to live her life and live life. She just wants to live life. She wants to experience life unencumbered. And I think a lot of people will say, oh, we saw this coming, or she just did that so she didn't have to live at home with her parents, or whatever the excuses are. I've learned over the last several months that people have a lot of opinions on her that are just very inaccurate of who she is. I mean, I think some of the reservations about her are valid, and I think some of the concerns people have about the situation are valid, but I don't see that Gypsy's not the kind of person that does things with a negative motive. She doesn't have intentions, she doesn't have nefarious intentions. She really did love Ryan. She really did believe that they could have a happy life. She really was putting her all into it, and she needed to make a change for herself to take care of herself and prioritize herself. And as far as the family goes, when I've spoken to people around them and to the family, everyone 100% supports Gypsy no matter what she does. They're going to support her if she stays out of the relationship, and they will also understand if they were to reconcile. They are very understanding that Gypsy's a 32-year-old woman, and no matter what, she's going to do what she's going to do. Even though some of them might have had reservations about her getting into this relationship and marrying and going to his house and kind of seeing the warning signs of her not being ready, they're not going to make her feel bad about it. They're not going to shame her for it. They're not going to say, I told you so. They're honestly just going to say, this was a life experience. This was a choice you needed to make to learn to grow, and let's move forward. And her friends, her family are all surrounding her. They're all circling her around her and taking care of her right now. Gypsy is an extremely vulnerable person and a very naive person. And so when I see people say things like, oh, she's just some sort of mastermind, she's just so manipulative, and I think, oh gosh, if they actually knew her, if they actually spoke to her, or they spoke to people in her family, you would know just how wrong that is. Yes, her mother was manipulative. And yes, she grew up watching her mother do things. And yes, she grew up with people giving her a lot of praise and her mom using her as a method to make money and doing things for attention. But that doesn't mean that that's who she is. That's what her mother did. And she's learning who she is today, which isn't who her mother was. And she recognizes that her mom taught her things about life that are wrong. She recognizes that her mom was involved in criminal activity like shoplifting and theft that she knows is wrong. She recognizes that because of those teachings, she has to learn about life in the real world, and she has to learn the difference between right and wrong. And she's very committed to not being like that, and when she makes a bad decision, trying to correct that and move forward. And no matter what you think about her, regardless of if you like her or you don't like her, I will say that she has a right to feel safe emotionally, mentally, physically, and she shouldn't stay in a situation where she doesn't feel emotionally safe or mentally safe. She needs to be in a place where she can heal without any other distractions. And that's been my opinion. And that's been my opinion since the beginning. And when they got married, I, like Christy, was reserved about it, but Gypsy will do what Gypsy's gonna do, and she has to learn. And so at the end of the day, they have split up, but she has a good support system. She has a supportive parole officer. She has a supportive attorney. She has supportive parents. She has supportive siblings. She's been able to reconnect with cousins and extended family members. She's got friends that are in her corner and, helping her along. And everyone is committed to helping her learn and grow and become the best Gypsy that she can be. And being away from the media has been good for her. But because the news became public, I wanted to just come on here and share what I know and let y'all know she's okay. She's doing well, and she's got a lot of support. And whether or not they will file for divorce is not been decided at this point, and the future of their relationship beyond separation has not been determined, but she has moved out. So tell me what your thoughts are about the video in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click on the bell so you never miss a video. Bye, guys.